The Vera Time Show. 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 Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Time Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Father, provider, protector, role model for a son, the image of the man that will be the husband of your daughter when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one, regardless of any obstacles a father must overcome. Sometimes the injustices of our society towards many of our fathers can make it hard to stand, but you gotta stand and be a man and a father to your children in every way you possibly can. Demonstrate their worth through you by the words that you say and the things that you do. Don't ever put your children down or call them out of their name. They may become whatever you claim. Lift them up to higher ground. Let their inner beauty be seen, be found. Show them and tell them how special they are. Be the light. Be the light. Be the light to take them far. Show them and tell them how much you really care, and let them know no matter what, you will always, in all ways, be there. Pray that our fathers will be guided by the light to lead their children in the ways that are right. Hello, hello, hello. I started with that poem because we're going to be talking about fatherhood. And I want to pull my guest up and we're going to share with you. Hello, hello, hello. How are
What's going
you,
on, Miss
Mr.
Vera?
Charles? How are you, Mr. Charles Yancey II?
I'm well, ma'am. I am well. How are you?
I am doing just great. And before I give you the floor, let me share with our audience a little bit about Mr. Charles L. Yancey II, better known as Mr. Yancey, was born into a military family in then Fort Gordon, Georgia. After traveling over the years for various reasons, he currently lives in Canton, Ohio, and is the father of two boys. Mr. Yancey has worked in independent entertainment and media for 20 years in various capacities, from party promotions to hosting in nightclubs and events to traveling with an R&B group, voiceovers, and more. Currently, Mr. Yancey works for the Greater Stark County Urban League as a recruitment and marketing navigator, and he is excellent at his job, let me tell you. He also hosts a podcast titled Conquering the Unexpected, which is available on multiple platforms and is ranked number 144 in India in the category of mental health. Lastly, Mr. Yancey is the founder of the Fatherly Impact Foundation, which supports, encourages, and empowers fathers and their families from the womb through high school and beyond. What's most important to know about Mr. Yancey is that he loves to see individuals be prosperous and successful, as well as leave a legacy for the next generation. That is so powerful, so awesome. So, what I'm going to do is give you the floor and ask you to kind of share your journey. What was it like being a military kid, traveling all over the place? And what impact did that have on you as a child? And how did it steer you to be the father that you are? So, I'm going to give you the floor.
So I'll put it this way. I was so young when I was born into a military family. I was born in Fort Gordon, Georgia, as and then we moved to Arizona, and then we moved to Virginia, and that is where I spent the majority of my teenage life. My parents did split up. We moved to Chicago, then moved back to Virginia, then I moved back to Chicago, um, and then went from Chicago to Ohio. In regards to fatherhood or my upbringing, my father I'm a preacher's kid, definitely. Even though with all the misconceptions, yeah, there's sometimes some things I did wrong, but I never did anything extra too bad. But my father was strict, but then he did also have me cold. I was very much cultured. I experienced quite a few things, especially when he traveled with a gospel choir. I was able to experience quite a bit, and I took that, to heart because a lot of children don't get to experience the opportunity, one, to go even get around in their city, much less get outside their state. And so to be able to do that definitely geared me or conditioned me to do that moving forward, because you never learn about anything if you stay in one place. That wasn't a quote. That's just what came to my mind at the time. But yeah, I did. There were some issues that I felt probably could have been different. Um, Mainly, like I said, the strictness. And I understand, the old school way, but in this day and time, there's a different way to handle children. Um, and it doesn't always have to be about corporal punishment. Sometimes the right conversation can change a child's life. Um, I
Yes.
do know in this day and time they talk about gentle parenting, which I'm not against, but because some children just need that extra. Mm. So, but outside of that, no. The one thing about my father that I will always hold on to is he was always dedicated. He never stopped doing what he felt was right. Um, Even when it came time, because he was in, like I said, he was in the military. He went civil service, and unfortunately, while he was there, they had what's called a RIF, which means you can either retire early or you can just get I guess, be dismissed. And so after that happened, he opened up his own business, and he did that for some quite a few years. But then eventually he did go into ministry full time, which is what he's doing now. And I always keep that in my heart because the scripture says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is older, he will not depart from it. And to this day, I still believe that. I don't care what I do. I don't care what nobody else does. I'm still going to pray for my food. I'm still going to be respectful. I'm still going to consult the Most High when it comes to certain situations because we don't know everything. But for
Right.
those who think they do, we find ourselves in a position to where we're confused. We make bad decisions when the one who has the answer you don't go to. So yeah, it wasn't the best childhood per se, at least in my opinion, but it definitely gave me a good foundation moving forward, especially when it came to sticking to my guns. If you know what's right and you're doing the right thing, can't nobody tell you anything different. Not only that, if you want to explore something, especially when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because in this day and time there's so many things that can conflict with what you're trying to do, and a lot of
Amen.
people make those excuses. Again, when I hear the word job, I was always taught job, which stands for just over broke. I don't want to be just over broke. I want to be doing something that I enjoy doing and something I would be willing to do until the day I die. And so that's why how I end up expanding into other things, podcasting, as you mentioned, the entertainment industry, and even now I'm getting back into the literary aspect of it, writing poems, which I believe I'm gonna share one, at least one or two today. So yeah, that's what my journey to where I'm at now, how I got here.
And it's beautiful that you said, I love when you said a job is just over broke. And, but when you are walking in your purpose and your passion, then it's no longer work.
Correct.
It reminds me of a quote by James Michener that says, "The master in the art of living draws no distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation, his love or his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever it is he's doing and leaves it to others to determine whether he's working or playing. To himself, he's always doing both." And so when you're walking in your purpose and in your passion, then it is not work. And I see how you are with your work at work,
Right.
and it's not a job, it's a part of your purpose and your passion, which
Yes,
is
ma'am.
beautiful. As a matter of fact, I would say that the staff that we have are all moving in one way or another in their purpose and their passion, which makes for such a great cohesive group of people. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
you also said you made the comment about not being stuck in one place, and you having the opportunity as a child to experience other cities and other states, and so many people, like right here in Canton, people think going to Maslin is a major issue, or going to North Canton is a major issue, because they haven't really experienced anything else. Now, my mom, she used to tell me, "Vera, a rolling stone gathers no moss." And my thought was, who wants moss? Who wants Mars? We do need to be able to move around and experience different things. And as a result of that, how did that shape you as a father?
Well, actually, before I had my first child, I was dating a woman who had four children, and I don't know. I really felt like there was so much more to do than where we were at. Um, Thankful to the Most High that was able to get a job to where, um, one, I was able to help families, but two, our focus was really expanding these children and their families' horizons. So we made it a point to set up certain trips. One, to get them outside of their quad, we call it the quadrant, the four streets that they lived in because it was low income housing. And so we took them around the city of Cleveland and took them to different cultural stores so that they could experience different cultures in their cities. Then we also took them to Detroit, Michigan, to the to the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Which, if you have never been there, I strongly suggest you go there, not just for African Americans, but for everyone, because that history is for everybody. Yeah, it may be because it says African American, but yeah, we're not going to get into that. But just know that history is for everybody. And then lastly, actually we went there twice, but then we also went to Washington D.C. and we were able to experience the Frederick Douglass's house, the home that he had grew up in or lived in, and then we went to another museum, and it was such an enriching experience. And I was so blessed because I was also to take a couple of my stepchildren with me. So that I started there because I never wanted them to say, "Oh, I've never been able to do anything," or "never been able to go anywhere." Even when it came down to sports events, I was blessed to have co-workers who were a part of different situations, who knew how much I cared about my family, and even though with my stepchildren, they knew how much I cared. So I was taking them to plays at the legendary Caramoo House in Cleveland,
Yes.
Ohio, as well as different sports games. We've been to Cavs games. We've been to They're now known as the Guardians, but the Guardians games, um, Lake Erie Monsters games, unfortunately the Browns games, not my problem. It was free tickets. But it was a great experience, and these my children, my stepchildren, they loved it. And even when my oldest son was born, I never stopped that. Even he's even been to Amish country and all kinds of stuff. So that for me let me know that there was so much more that I can experience. There was so much more to do. It's not just about, oh, what can I do around the house? Because that's too confined. You'll never experience anything. You'll never be able to associate or understand other people when you put yourself in a box. And that's exactly what some parents unfortunately do. And I understand that parents are busy, but sometimes you have to take the time out to do something different. Don't always take them to the park. The park is great, but then there's so many other things. If you think about when a child goes to school, I know at one time we used to lie because we was hoping we would do it. Then there was other children that actually did, and it was like, man, I wish I could go there. Why
And
not?
yes, and
If you go ahead.
a point I want to make about that. So Charles has given some nuggets here to parents. Get out of your comfort zone as a parent and take your children and expose them to things that you may not have experienced as a child. And it may be eye opening for you and exciting for you as well as for your children. Take them to different places, expose them to the various arts, even opera, ballet, those things, teach them and have them exposed to the various many things that are out here that's beyond our neighborhoods.
Right. I mean, not only that, you also got to think about this. As a child grows up, I know when I was younger, you hear children talking about, or you hear people ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And children have so many different answers. At what point do you even try to explore some of those options? If a child says, I want to be a basketball player, do you get him into sports camps? Do you get him into AAU? Do you
Yes.
get him into sports in their school? Some children want to learn karate. They want to be a martial artist. Do you put them in those schools? Do you put them in those different classes? Even when it comes to acting, I mean, that's a
Yes.
little tight. I say that's definitely a tight area because you definitely have to be understand Hollywood or the show business, and you really have to be on your p's and q's because it's very easy to get distracted when the lights come on and all that, when the money start coming in. And I'm sure you've heard, just like I've heard of many different stories that comes along with that. But with the
But you
right
want to
proper
still expose them
right,
to it. It's sad because I ask that question a lot. And it saddens me when I hear a child say, well, I want to work at McDonald's. That's their dream, to work at McDonald's or to be a cashier at Walmart. And I'm thinking, that's what they see. And that, again, is another reason that it is so important for parents to expose their kids to other things. And it's important that kids see themselves in the roles that they claim they want to be.
so
And
well, let me jump in there real quick. So, while I respect what you're saying, I'm going to say I would like to add this because in some areas, in some children's lives, it may start off as a cashier or a fry cook or whatever. My thing is, if you do want to do that, don't stay at the bottom because there's some that start off as fry cooks and janitors or whatever. The next thing you know, they're the general managers, they're district managers. Don't ever stop. If you want to work there, great. But don't just say, okay, well, I've been working as a cashier for 20 years. You never thought about going higher than that? You always have to, as they say, set your bar high. Even if you start at the bottom, there are people that have worked their way up and now own franchises.
yes,
So please don't. I don't want to ever. If a child feels like that, I don't have anything against that. But make sure that you are that's just a stepping stone. That's not your final destination.
Exactly.
That's that's on your way. Okay, I want to work here, but I'm gonna go to school and learn business. So next thing I can do, I can be the general manager. I can own that one and own that McDonald's or whatever fast food restaurant it is. And then from there, you can expand and get and gain more franchises and go from there. So I just want to add that.
Okay, and I want to say that's excellent if a child can see beyond being a cook or a cashier, and that's where mentors and role models and and parents come in to encourage them to want to do more.
Right,
But so oftentimes parents don't do that because that was not what they saw themselves. And when you consider, and I say this all the time, 2/3 of adults who have unresolved issues, it stems from their childhood. And now many of them are parents, and you can't give what you don't have. You
right,
can't teach what you don't know. And that's why the work that we do regarding parents and fathers is so important, and as well as kids. So let me ask you now, I know that you have this podcast, and also if you could put in the private chat how people can reach you, then I can put it on in the comments. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up your podcast, Conquering the Unexpected. You want to tell us about that? Are you frozen on me? Hello?
no, you were frozen at first. I'm still here.
Okay. You want
Can
to
you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Can you tell us what Conquering the Unexpected is all about?
So with I don't know, I got to go into the story in order to do that. But um,
All right. Well, you
I
you
guess
have
without
time.
going, okay. So back in 2023, I okay, that's one. Let me tell the story because I'm trying to type and tell at the same time. Um,
Okay.
back in 2023, unfortunately, I was going through a very messy divorce, and I unfortunately was falsely incarcerated on April the 4th of 2023. Spent 4 months on in jail on pre-trial. Some people say, wait, you got to no, I spent 4 months on pre-trial. And when I got out, I served, I was on total house arrest, meaning I couldn't go anywhere but to my lawyer, to court, maybe my doctor, um, for 2 months until some other things changed the situation. While I was in jail, though, because prior to me going to jail, I've been podcasting since 2012. Um, I took a break because of the situation I was in, the marriage I was in. I was trying to focus and make that work. But I knew what, like you said earlier, my passion was, and that's to speak into people's lives, speak positivity into people's lives. And I knew for a fact when I was in jail, I didn't do anything wrong. But I was determined not to let that bother me, not to let that stop me. And so I went, I prayed, and I have a notebook. Matter of fact, that's where one of my poems is as well. But I had my notebook and I prayed to the Most High and I said, I told him, I said, when I get out, I will not let this overcome me. And even though it was an unexpected situation, I was able to conquer it. And I didn't know it at that time because initially I was going to call it a different, I had a different title for the show. But I knew when I got out, I was going to try to speak, I was going to use that situation to hopefully change somebody else, hopefully help somebody change their life or make a better decision. And so when I got out, I had that title, and then I was on another platform, another video platform, excuse me, and I was speaking to another I don't know what you call it, video caster, another person who was doing videos, and they told me maybe that's not the title of the show because there's so much more to me than that title. And so I thought about it again because, like I said, I did not expect to get for the police to be knocking on my door at 5:30 in the morning on April the 4th, and then to be in jail for 4 months,
And
unexpected. That was crazy. I
right.
said,
And let's be clear. You were never charged with anything
as on January 30th of 2024, I was found not guilty of all charges.
after spending 4 months in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a part of our penal system and child support and relationships that I want to talk about because so many of our men who are not deadbeat fathers find themselves in situations very similar to what you experienced.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say to men out here, be careful where you plant your seed. Be careful where you
I,
plant your seed.
you know what's funny?
What?
Um, I hear that, and I've heard that before when it came to my first marriage. And crazy thing is, it was the one that put me in jail that told me that, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if you're the person that should be telling me that,
I
but
know.
the one thing about relationships, as they say, to quote a line from I don't know if you heard the hip hop artist Eve. She had a song called "Love Is Blind," um, and basically it was the name. The chorus goes, "Love is blind, and it'll take over your mind." Because what you think is love is truly not. You need to elevate and find. It's the elevation that people miss out on because they get stuck in their current perception, and then find out later that wait a minute, this wasn't even you was holding on to something that you shouldn't have.
And the thing
Sometimes,
is,
go ahead.
you have to watch for those red flags.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very aware of red flags and know what your must-haves are. Know what your boundaries are. Know
Mm-hmm.
what you will accept and will not accept in a relationship and don't compromise that.
Oh, can you excuse me real quick? I guess give me 2.5 seconds.
Okay, so he's while he's leaving, I am going to play a commercial and we will be right back. Okay, I'm playing a commercial, so we'll be back.
In a world where authenticity is the key, unlock your brand's potential with ADM's game-changing marketing solutions. We craft striking logos that embody your brand's spirit and build websites that captivate and convert. Our lead generation strategies are tailored to your needs, driving growth and boosting your bottom line. And our content, well, it's not just content. It's a narrative, a story that connects and resonates with your audience. But here at ADM, we're about more than just exceptional services. We're about authenticity, about staying true to who you are and what you stand for, because realness, that's what makes a brand unforgettable. So if you're ready to elevate your brand with authenticity and excellence, follow this page. Dive deeper into the world of divine marketing and become part of our community. Because at ADM, we're not just about making brands, we're about making brands matter.
Ariel Chime, Authentic Divine Marketing. You want to check her out because that's exactly what she does. She will produce a video or any other kind of marketing tool for you, and it will be authentic. So check out Area Chime, Authentic Divine Marketing, and you can go to bit.ly/divine chime. Check her out. All right. Now, there was something else you were about to say before. Hello?
I honestly, first of all, I apologize. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. Um, honestly, I forgot what I was going to say. I apologize. Um, but if I'm to even say anything else, honestly, um, oh no, we were talking about my situation. Um, the one thing that I refused to do, and I've said this in my own podcast. I say this when I go out and speak, and that is when you come out of a situation, if you come out victorious, or even if you come out learning a lesson, because then sometimes everything is not about being victorious. Sometimes it's about about learning the lesson. And this is again, because we are talking about the joy of father. That's one of the things I do even with my own children. Um, other people's children, because I love children. Period. You know, I ain't gonna tell you why, because my mama said y'all adults can take care of yourselves, but those children, that's different. So every time I'm able to speak life, speak positivity into a child's life, I do that. Unfortunately, a lot of people will not share their experiences, how they were victorious, or the lessons that they learned. And unfortunately, that's why you see so many other people going on the same path, because nobody stopped and say, "Hey, you do realize that that's not okay, or that's not the right way to handle that." Oh, I'm gonna handle myself. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this one more time. You can do it the way I'm suggesting, or you can find out the hard way. Most people,
Yes.
some people want to end up finding a hard way. There are those that they hear that and go, you know what? You're right. Let me stop and listen. Because it'd be different if I was telling you go run yourself into a wall, or as they say, run into oncoming traffic. Don't listen to me. But if I'm
Yeah.
you, you might not want to confront this situation a certain way, because there's legal ramifications, there's reputations or rumors that are formed when you make those bad decisions. But one thing you can't say is nobody told you or nobody tried to help you.
Exactly. And one of the things that I used to always tell my son, there's a scripture that says, a wise man follows the advice of counsel, a
Hmm.
fool goes his own way. And so, even in giving instruction and even in encouraging and helping our children understand there are consequences for your behavior, and you must understand that. So, yes,
Let
we
me
go.
only, and the spirit just spoke to me, because sometimes you have to let certain things be said so that people really understand and grasp the seriousness of the situation. While I told that story about how I ended up in jail, I forgot to leave out a very crucial point.
Okay.
That was my youngest son's mother. Like I said, my ex-wife. That was my youngest son's mother who put me in jail, because she wanted to control the situation. She didn't like the way it was going. She didn't like the fact that she wasn't getting her way. So she decided to go the wrong way. As I said, bad decision. That does not mean, oh, if I can get away with it, I'm gonna do it. That's eventually the most high, number one, does not let that go. You might fool every man in the world, but you can never fool the most high, because he knows everything. And so, unfortunately, that's one of the things that also fueled me, because I see that situation so many times in families, where it be the mother that's upset with the father, so she'll go and do something that she shouldn't do, or the father, which again, for me, I'm telling you up front, man, don't make that mistake, because depending on where you live, the consequences may be just that much worse, because as I know in the state of Ohio, it's known as a mothering state. And they even tell you, in order for you to even get those children away from that mother, it has to be the most extreme circumstances. But if you do something wrong, she can lie on you, and you'll end up in my position. And then depending on how you even go through that situation, then it could be even worse for you. But one thing for sure, two things for certain: the Most High knows it all. And as long as you walk in the right way, as long as you handle it the right way, you will see victory. It may not be the way you want to, it may not be what you expected, but you have to see the positivity, especially when you can come out, as they say, it's pure gold.
And let me also say, to piggyback off of what he's saying, one, you cannot You cannot. I know Michelle said when they go low, we go high. Well, when you are in a toxic environment that impacts your children, please do not insinuate your children in grown folk conversations, and grown folks matter. All you're doing is stressing them out unnecessarily. And you don't need to criticize and belittle the other parent
Mm-hmm.
because you're traumatizing your children when you do that. Oh, and I've got the hiccups. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I know we want something else that we said that we were going to talk about, because again, we talked about some of the great things, and it's definitely the positive impact that, like I said, my father has had on me, and I've tried to do the same thing with stepchildren, my own children, and even my friends' children for that matter. But here's the reality of certain situations. When you talk about being a father, there's challenges that come along with that. One, when you don't know your rights, when you don't understand just how important you are in your child's life, again, as they said, it takes two to tango. Now, I understand there's some situations where there was a different process that was taking place, that took place in order to bring that child into this world, but that's still the same. If you all have both identified yourselves as that child's parents, both of you all need to be in their lives. Two, again, as I just mentioned, the abuse of the legal system. Unfortunately, fathers have found themselves on the low end of the totem pole when it comes to the legal system. Now, that does not mean we have to stay there. You can fight. You can fight and put yourself in a better position to where, hey, you're not going to stop me from being the person I know I should be, the person that that child needs in their life. Um, Finances is another one because there are situations where fathers are put on child support. Not saying now, I'm not saying that because fathers shouldn't pay child support, because you should, especially if you're not in the home, because daily expenses are expensive. But as I learned in Cleveland, as I was going to the celebration of fatherhood that was put on by the Fatherhood Initiative in Cleveland, there was a plenary session where you ask questions, or they call it, I think it was a town hall meeting or whatever, but people were asking questions of different government or different legal officials, judges, and lawyers. And I never forget, a judge said, visitation does not trump child support, and child support does not trump visitation. A child needs both. So if you're not able to see your child because of that other parent, you can fight that as
And
well
well,
as,
you should. Well,
right.
you should, especially if you're paying child support
Mm-hmm.
and you're not able to see your child, something is wrong with that picture.
Right. But unfortunately, some guys get to the point where they feel like, well, she ain't gonna let me see my child. Well, hey, at least I'm paying child support. It's still not the same because, as you
No.
said, Vera, those things that you had that were growing up, if you don't change that situation, if you don't change the narrative, if you don't break that cycle, then your child's going to be doing the same thing. And I've heard too many men say that. Oh well, hey, they want to give them to the mama, then let them have them. I'm gonna pay my child support and go on about my life. But you are
No.
now putting your child in a situation to where they have to either learn from somebody else or learn on their own. And the best teachers are the parents because,
Absolutely.
as a matter of fact, not the best teachers, the first teachers.
The
Maybe not the
first
best because
teacher.
we ain't all got sense like that. But we at least try to teach the best of our abilities. And if you can't do that, then there's the village. I speak that. I don't care where I go. I don't care what situation I'm in. I always talk about the village because when I'm okay. I'm not old enough. I think. Okay, no, yeah, I'll take that back. I was when I was younger. There was still a village. I still had. I never forget. My second grade teacher did it, and my fifth grade teacher did it. When I acted up, they came to my house, knocked on my door, sat on our couch, and yes, I got my butt whooped after. But guess what? that way I knew I can't go to school and do anything different than the rules I have at home. If I violate the rules at home, I'm gonna be in trouble. If I go to school and violate those rules, I'm gonna be in trouble. But unfortunately, some parents do not establish that precedence.
That's
You,
because, but that's because so many parents never had that themselves.
mm-hmm.
And parents today, and I know we're not here to, preach or anything like that, but
Oh,
that
I might preach
spiritual, oh, you might, that's true, because you are a preacher. But parents need to incorporate spirituality in your children's lives. You
mm-hmm.
know, I am convinced, and that scripture that says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart. It does not say that they won't stray
Right,
or that they may get a little out of line, but they'll never forget. They'll never forget that
a plant.
foundation.
I say a plant
So
can't grow if you never plant the seed.
exactly, exactly. So he said a plant can't grow if you never plant the seed. And in our nation right now, spirituality is key. We all need to tap into that higher power. Whatever you decide it is for you, we all need to tap into it right now. We need to tap into it right now. And we need to teach our kids
Right,
how to pray. Teach your children how to pray so that they know that they can call on the Holy Spirit or whatever your faith is. Teach them at an early age. It could eliminate some anxiety. It can eliminate some depression. We okay.
I'm gonna say not only that, you gotta think insecurities as well. Anxiety, insecurities kind of go hand in hand. But when you get into a situation and you're constantly questioning yourself, you're not insecure on who you are because nobody gave you those words of encouragement, those words of affirmation to say, "Hey, you are great." I know Vera is great at that. She'll have a whole chant for it. I'll be messing with her, but it's powerful. It's very powerful, and I did that. I don't know if I'm sure I don't know if I said it on the first time I was on, but I know I tell this story often that when my oldest son was born, he got to the age where he can go to daycare. I would when he went in, um, we had this thing every day, and all of the daycare workers, they knew it. They didn't bother me, but I would this is what I asked them. I said, who's a smart guy, who's a handsome guy, who's a smart handsome guy, and who's daddy's baby. And then we had a handshake, and then after the handshake, he'll take off running down the hall, and then he'll run full force at me and jump in my arms. And I gave him a big hug, and that's what we did every single day.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
we did that every day until unfortunately him and his mother and I separated. But I know for a fact that if nothing else, he had that word, he had that encouragement, he had that security. So you know what? I don't care what nobody else says. My
I
daddy
know.
says I'm
Yes.
smart. My
Yes.
daddy said I'm handsome, and
Yes.
therefore I'm a great person. But if you don't
Yes.
have that structure, if you don't have that planted inside of you, now you go through life trying to figure out, am I really? Should I?
Right. Or
Listen.
allowing bullies to tell you who you are,
Right.
allowing other people to tell you who you are. That's why what we do with parents and their children is so critical because right now, don't wait until your child is in middle school and high school to try to build their confidence. You need to do that at an early age. Even even in your womb, you can begin to speak life into your children. As infants, you can begin to speak life into your children. It's very important, very important. I have another commercial that I need to play, and then we will come right back.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products, because you know, Mama knows what you need.
You really want to check out Mama Knows products. I'm telling you, the moisturizers, shampoos, conditioners, hair elixirs, and so many other products. And they smell awesome and they work really well. So you want to check out mamaknowsproducts.com. Why? Because Mama knows what you need. So check her out. All right. All right. Now, Charles.
Yes.
I know that this fatherhood stuff, and you made some very, very, very important points. And I just want to appeal to mothers. Um, if your baby's father wants to be in their child's life, please let them. Please. And please don't belittle your children's father or mother. Don't belittle each other. It does no good. You'll have your children eventually resenting you for talking the way you did about their father or their mother when they're older. You just don't want to do that. You just don't want to do that. Um so okay, so Charles, what other light can you shed on this situation? I'm going to give you the floor.
So I know we talked about this, and I want to share this poem. Um,
Yes.
I I want to set a foundation for it, because, like I said, while I was in jail, or should I say, falsely incarcerated, I think that's more that's more relatable.
Yes.
But no, while I was in jail, for those who've never been there, there's nothing to do, you know. And you literally that some people unfortunately get in a lot of trouble while they're in there. But again, one thing I kept in mind that I was told by most people, and that was never my thought to do anyway. But if you go to jail for something you didn't do, don't go in there and doing something. Don't go in there and do something now it makes you look bad. So instead of me doing that, I mean, other amongst other things, like speaking positivity to other inmates, I wrote some poems. This one in particular, I actually read at a movie screening that we had that dealt with 50-50 parenting, and it's called "I Love Being a Father." Whew. I love being a father, regardless of who tries to stop me. It's not the job for everyone, but it's a job. It's but this one job I will never regret. No matter the trials and tribulations I face, seeing the smiles on their faces eases some of the pain. I love being a father because of the great responsibility that I have to mold them, to guide them, to lay the foundation for what they may face in life. No, the road will not be easy, but I will be there to help them along the way. I love being a father. It is one of the greatest gifts God gave me. I will never be as great of a father as God has been to me, but until the day I die, I will strive to be the best father I can be. To those men who struggle to be a father from day to day, keep on striving because your work is not in vain. Love being a father. Embrace every opportunity you have. One day, our sons may be fathers and remember the example we made.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yes. And I know you have another one, and I want you to kind of share your story behind that one as you share it as well.
So the second one, I really had to stop and think about as I wrote it because we all can be fathers. A father is simply a person that helped make the baby, the mother and the father. Me personally, I don't use those terms when it comes to my parents. I still, at 43 years old, have a mommy and a daddy. And why do you say, why would you say that? Because it's personal. That's when you know that you really have learned something, there's a connection. Um, no matter what that has happened, you still know that, hey, I can still go back to my parents for advice, to just to talk, word of encouragement, or even to hang out. I even went as far as to go to my father. My father got married last year. I traveled from all the way from Ohio to make sure I was at my father's wedding, and I was actually his best man. Um, no, like I said, maybe not the best childhood growing up, but as you get older, you got to learn how to let some things go and see
Amen.
things in life. So let me share this because again, I really want you. This is definitely for my men to understand the difference between a father, or as some say, we'll say a sperm donor, the person who's on the birth certificate, and an actual daddy. There once was a man who was a father, and that's all he was. He made the child, he named the child, even paid child support, but then he went away. There also was a man who was a daddy who really took care of his child. He taught him how to fish and play football and even how to treat a lady. He taught him about his feelings, that it's okay to cry and only throw hands when necessary. He taught him how to build, how to fix a car, how to take care of his family. When the child got older, he thanked his daddy for everything he was taught because it's more than just being a father, it's the time that it is spent. It's the time that is spent. So think about being a daddy, not just a father, because one they will remember the most.
I love it. I love it. And what I want to say to you, fathers and daddies out there, your children are they are your most precious gift. And I want to encourage fathers to spend time with each of your children individually as well as collectively. Mothers, do the same. Designate some time for each one of your children, separate and apart, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes out of the day, but give each one of them some quality time with you, not on your cell phone, not looking at your tablet, not watching TV, but having that eye to eye conversation with your child, even again, if it's only 10 minutes out of the day, to let them know how important they are to you and listen to them. Ask them questions so that they know that you are intent on hearing them. Charles, I
Yes.
appreciate you being here. And can you want to say more on that topic?
Um, it's wow. I was speak. I had a meeting on yesterday with a organization that deals with mothers, and just so happened to come in contact with another father who explained, his situation, some of the similarities him and I had, and we, are working on doing a men's event in June. But one thing that we both agreed on is that it's not over. don't think for a second that you cannot be in your child's life again. I always said it, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's not always easy because, especially when you take that time away, again, like you said, there's trauma, there's resentment that is formed. Sometimes it is brought on by the mother, but if you never take the time to change that narrative, that child is going to be stuck with that narrative. And I know I've heard some fathers talk about the struggle that they have. I should have, could have, would have. Those are all excuses to me. You wake up every single day. If the Most High allows you to wake up and try again, then that means you need to try. I know they say nothing beats a failure but a try. Well, to me, nothing beats a try but death. You always, every day you wake up, you have another opportunity to do the right thing. You have another opportunity to show that child who you really are and teach them the lessons that they really need to know. Like I mentioned in the poem, some simple things as how to treat a woman. Not every young man knows that, and that's why you hear young men talking this way about women or treating these women a certain way. And then when you ask, well, where's your daddy at? Well, I ain't never met that man in my life. Now, make that make sense, because it's not that he doesn't want to know. It's not that he doesn't want to learn, but the person who was supposed to be there to teach him, didn't. Now, there's only one exception to that, and that's death, like I said. So if unfortunately a father dies, then that makes that. I mean, that's the only reason I can give. Now, here's the other thing, because I believe there's two aspects. There's a father, then there's a father figure. That's why I always bring up the village, because we as men have a responsibility as teachers, not just for our own children, but for other children. Because there are those situations where you see a child doing wrong, and I know in this day and time it's not very much accepted. But I know, Vera, you acted up in the streets, you might have got caught by a few people before you even got
Absolutely. Or in the church,
exactly.
everybody could speak to you. But nowadays, you got a parent, you got kids saying, "You're not my mother." You've got
Hmm.
parents saying, "This is my child." And so, yes, we grew up where it took a village to raise a child. We've got to get back in that. We've got to help parents get back in that mindset, because so many parents feel that they're out here doing this by themselves,
Hmm.
as well. So you got two ends of the spectrum. You got parents that could and would value and appreciate the help. And then you got parents that think they know everything, and therefore their children are suffering as well. And
But
get your children involved in, I mean, here in Canton, Ohio, the enrichment program is
hmm
awesome. And if your child has talents, skills, gifts in the arts, you want to get them involved. If they don't know what they want to do, you want to get them involved. I'm telling you, the enrichment program is an absolute treasure in this community. And there are other youth programs, the Southeast Community Center. There are things going on there every day.
hmm like I said, even when it comes to sports, a lot of our young men are influenced by finances because they hear about athletes making an X amount of dollars. Well, they got to start somewhere. And me having been having, well, I say former because I was coaching for a while, but being a former little league football coach, I loved it. Didn't get paid for it, but one of the things that I see, because I know we don't have that much time, but one of the things that touched me the most is when one of the fathers that who yeah one of the children who's yeah the father of one of the children I coach, he shared, we're now friends on Facebook. One of those children I coach is now playing for Michigan State.
Woo! That's
Little league,
awesome.
Yes,
That
and
is
that made me
awesome.
proud. I haven't talked to him in forever, but I know something else. I knew in one thing, I had some type
You had
of
you
impact on
had
him.
you had what? You broke up when you said you had what?
I said if nothing else, I knew I had a positive impact on him.
Amen. Amen. That was worth you repeating. Now, we're getting ready to leave. I want to thank you for this opportunity. And please go to the Vera Thomas Show, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I need your subscriptions, please. So, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And Charles, thank you so much for being here. And we will see you all on Thursday. Have a great week. God bless. And Charles, if you could hold on for a minute, I would appreciate it.
The Vera Thomas